This is Henry Magembe, Sebowa, a dragon fruit farmer, Uganda, Mbalala Mkono. Today we are in our dragon fruit orchard. We are going to talk about heaping and mulching of the dragon fruit plants. Today, as you are seeing, you have to make what we call enough heap. And the advantage of making this enough heap is there is what we call water retention. The bigger it is, the more water it retains in the soils. And still, because when you're making this heap, you have to mix it with manure, cow dung manure, or compost. And still we use the wandering dew, as you were seeing. That wandering dew, when it rots, also it adds on fertility to the soils. And it also keeps the warmth inside the heap. That helps the better growth of the plant. And it also provides food when it rots. It provides food for the plant. And still, when we make this heap, as you are seeing, and this one is big enough, when it is rainy season, water from the other side, the running water from the other side, it won't erode away all the soils due to the size of the heap, as you are seeing. Still, you have to maintain and keep your garden clean. As you are seeing, we are maintaining our garden. We fight weeds to prevent what we call competition from our orchard. Because when you leave the weeds in the garden, just know that there is competition and your plants will be stunted. They will be we call stunted growth of the plants, and they will be unhealthy. Yes. And more still, you are seeing we are making terraces, small terraces, still in our gardens. In our garden, you are seeing those small terraces. Don't make huge ones. We don't want to make stagnant water. We don't want to withhold or to make potholes instead of terraces, and you make potholes to hold water. We have our neighbors around. It will turn into stagnant water, a breeding place for mosquitoes, which we don't deal with. Still, we have to make sure that we don't harm our neighbors, because when we make potholes, it means that it will become a breeding place for the mosquitoes. But what you have to know, you have to make what we call, and I'm emphasizing it, make enough heap. Don't make small heaps. Because as you are seeing here, this area is rocky, but we make sure that we make what we call enough heap. We have to make it enough and make sure at least you cover the top, such that when it is drought, the rate at which evaporation takes place, it is very low. It's all what you have to make. And still, this does not need someone to go in class, but you know that everyone has ever, some people have, you have ever grown what we call sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes, recall, it mulches itself. It is a cover crop. But recall this one, it is not a cover crop. And still, I was trying to emphasize each and every one. If you can mix the cover crops in your garden. The reason as why we are not mixing here cover crops, it is still, this place is rocky. It does not support the growth of watermelons, the growth of skumawiki, the growth of beans, each and some fruits and plants that are not favorable here. But dragon fruit, since it doesn't matter where you have grown it, it does not matter. So my point will still stand, that you have to make what we call the enough heap. Look at the plants, look at how healthy they are. They haven't made 2 years, but you can look at them. They started fruiting. They haven't made 2 years, but they have started fruiting because of the care. So you have to make sure that your garden is looking good. You have to fight weeds as soon as possible. You don't have to wait. You don't have to leave them in bush. And those people who are in very, 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 very dry areas, I will encourage you to irrigate at least twice a week. Twice a week. You can irrigate on Monday and Friday. Twice a week, because these plants, they don't need a lot of water. You can find people, and make sure that you don't pour water on heaps here. No, you have to irrigate from the top. You irrigate from the top, because when you irrigate from downstairs, you will find your stems rotting. You find your stems rotting. And another thing, before I say a goodbye to you, you have to make what we call a quick and faster observation. There is something I want to show to you. Come. There is, if you are observant here, this is what we call anthracnose. Anthracnose, it is a viral disease. It is a viral disease. It affects our dragon fruits. This one. What you have to know, and when you see this, you have to react as soon as possible. You have to cut it off such that others are not affected. This anthracnose, the fastest way of preventing it, and it is the simplest, you have to cut the affected part, as you are going to see me doing it. Have you seen? You have cut it off, and these other parts will be fine. So as we are leaving our video, make sure, because when you look at these ends, you can see these plants are healthy. They are very healthy. So I'm advising each and every one of you, dragon fruit farmers and those willing to start a dragon fruit orchard, you have to make what they call enough heaps. Don't make small heaps as you are growing Irish potatoes. These things need what we call, recall, these have fibrous roots. They feed on top. They don't have tap roots that go deep. They feed on top. So that is the major reason as why you have to make these hips very big. Love you all. May the Almighty God bless you. Don't forget to subscribe. I remain Henry Magembe, Seboa Dragon Fruit Farmer, Uganda, Mbalala, Mukono. Bye bye.